minutes, here's How with Lynne O'Quinn from his Outreach Worldwide.
Hey there, I'm Lynne O'Quinn, founder and director of His Outreach Worldwide, often referred to as HOW, and we are a ministry that shares the love and gospel of Jesus Christ throughout the world. Today there are a lot of people out there searching for the answer, and they're wanting to know how to find joy, how to find hope, how to find peace. And I just want to tell you right now that there is only one answer, and that answer is Jesus Christ. There will always be a void in your life, in your heart, without Him, and you will always be searching without Him for the right answers. In John 14:6, He says that I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. And He also tells us in His Word to seek Him and you will find Him. So I'm just telling you today, if you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ in a personal way, then today is your day to seek Him, and you will be found by Him if you truly seek Him with all of your heart. So now we will go on to our great interview that we have set up, and this one I'm proud to say, happy to say, is with Justin Mitchell, who is the deputy to the Garrison commander at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So Justin, welcome.
Thank you.
It's so good to have you here.
Very happy to be here. Yes.
And I just first want to ask you what, because I'm sure they don't know and I don't know everything, what is it exactly that the deputy to the Garrison commander does?
Well, that's a great question, Lynn. You know, the deputy to the Garrison commander is a civilian contingent to support the Army garrison, and the garrison commander is usually a colonel or a lieutenant colonel, depending on the size of the base or the installation. But they transition every 2 years, and so the garrison commander is like the mayor of the installation, and the deputy to the garrison commander, which I am as a civilian, is the continuity, and I'm the city manager in respect to a city, a normal city. You have your mayor and your city manager, so I'm responsible for the budgets and the kind of the chief of staff, and at Fort Bragg to make sure that we fix the potholes, and 17 child care facilities and 14
Wow.
gymnasiums and 9 schools. And so I help a military-minded and trained individual learn how to run the 5th largest city in North Carolina that happens to be called Fort Bragg. And so that's kind of what I do, and that's what my title means, deputy to the garrison commander.
Well, I've known you for quite a while, and I know that you stay very busy.
Yes. Yes.
Very busy.
Yeah, running that city is a full-time job for
yes,
sure.
Yes, it definitely is. So my next question is, did you apply for this job, or how did you come across to be the deputy of Garrison?
You know, it's from my perspective, and as you started off with your intro, it's got to be a God thing, because I was a civilian child abuse investigator, and I was recruited by the military to come to work in the family advocacy arena. And our first assignment, with a brand new wife of 2 years and pregnant, we quit both of our jobs in Arizona and moved to Camp Zama, Japan, and had both of our children at Yokota Air Base, Japan, to work for the federal government, and just, you know, worked our way up through the Directorate of Morale, Welfare, and Recreation, and doing the quality of life support, and then moving to Germany. We thought we were going to be in Germany for 1 year and thought it was going to be a great 1 year vacation, and 11 years later, and 5 different jobs, and being promoted up the chain to become the deputy to the garrison commander in Schweinfurt, Germany. I finished my 1 year tour, so I'm kind of a slow learner until I get there. But it's been an amazing tour, and then I've had a couple of military leaders that recognized something in me, maybe even before I recognized it myself. And a 2-star general at the time that became a 4-star general named Vance Craddock grabbed me and moved me up to be a deputy to the garrison commander, and then a civilian senior executive service named Russ Hall grabbed a hold of me and sent me to the Army War College. And so that's where colonels go from all services go to take a look to become generals. And so I got to, as a civilian, spend a year in Carlisle Barracks at the Army War College, and I got my second master's degree in strategic studies with the military, and my first one's from University of Oklahoma with a master's in public administration. So just, you know, God has put me in the right place at the right time, and He's put amazing leaders around me that I try to emulate. And here I am at Fort Bragg, never have been in the military. Most of my peers are retired colonels that run deputy to the Garrison commander across the 78 installations across the world. But again, it's got to be a God thing for a civilian like me to get to be the deputy to the Garrison commander at the most populated U.S. Army base in the entire world.
I would definitely say so. And Mike and I know all about the God things. He is amazing, and it's amazing how I like to say, you know, we can plan our steps, you know, but God is the one that directs them.
That's true. That's true.
We can think we're going one way, but He totally takes us another, you know, and it's always a better way if it's His way.
Well, it is for sure, and you know, we try not to arm wrestle with God. My wife is a very prayerful person and love her to death. And we, when we went to Fort Rucker, Alabama from Germany, we kind of went there kicking and screaming. But the Army sends you where they want to, and what a wonderful assignment. Just met some wonderful friends and just really established a good family environment. And raised kind of our kids at Fort Rucker, Alabama, and then 5 years later we find out we're coming to Fort Bragg, which certainly wasn't on my bucket list to come to. But again, you know, God opened that door, and I wouldn't have met you, I wouldn't have met Mike, I wouldn't have been here doing anything like this, or even being, you know, playing music like we are without God being involved. And Fort Bragg has been a wonderful assignment, just some beautiful people, and it's an important, incredible military mission, and the Department of Defense need for the contingency corps for the entire nation. And I can get into that a little bit later, but this Fort Bragg mission is critical to our national defense, and to watch these soldiers and special forces operators from all services that really just pour into taking care of our nation. It's an incredible thing to be a part of.
Yes. Well, I can honestly say, as I have said, I've known you for quite some time, and I've worked with you and at Fort Bragg quite some time, you know, in many different capacities, and it's always a blessing to see you and to run across you, and you have been there through many different commanders that I've known.
Yes.
You know, and several different generals have come and gone, and you've stayed, and I will have to say that you have been blessed, but you're also a blessing to the community and to Fort Bragg.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's easy to say. And so can you give us a little bit, tell us then, that you said you were going to, a little bit about Fort Bragg, and I mean, as much as you want to share and can share.
Sure. And this is all public knowledge, but you know, when I got here 6 years ago, I was in a briefing early on, and somebody said, you know, when the president picks up the phone to dial 911, it rings at Fort Bragg. And I laughed. I thought it was a kind of a cute byline. And then about a month later, it hit me as an epiphany that it's absolutely true. When anything bad goes down around the world, there's people from Fort Bragg that are moving. And we have quite a few special forces with the Joint Special Forces Operations Command, the United States Special Operations Command, the Air Force Special Operations Squadrons, and then quite a few with the 82nd Airborne Division, which is the immediate response force for the nation. So we have a battalion set that's ready to go out the door and on recall to be in the air within 18 hours anywhere in the world for what we call joint forcible entry, which means they don't want us there, but we're coming anyway. And then we're going to establish a base for follow-on folks anywhere in the world. And so we train, we live on amber, we say. We're always training, we're always ready to go, there's always a force ready to go. And even in Hurricane Florence and the last two hurricanes that we've been through, the immediate response force and the 82nd Division was ready. And if we were called, we would have been able to deploy and defend our nation anywhere in the world. And so it's a pretty serious mission, and it's a pretty important mission. And we're not considered a joint base, but we operate jointly every day. We have Marines, we have Air Force, and the Air Force supports us, and we support them on Pope and in other missions. So it's a pretty incredible place to be.
Yes, it definitely is. And living here all my life, I've had a lot of friends in the military, and you're absolutely right. I have seen them pick up and go within hours. You know, we don't always necessarily know where they're going, but they're going somewhere important. You know, so they have to be, you know, on call and ready to go at the drop of a hat.
And the families as well. And you know, the latest example is we had something go down in Iraq about December 31st. So New Year's Eve, when there was a lot of people going to New Year's Eve parties, including some of our folks, about 4 o'clock in the morning, we started making phone calls, and we kicked out the immediate response force, and within 18 hours, we had over 3,000 folks headed to Iraq to support our embassy and other folks, and so we're ready to go when called.
Yeah, I knew they had gone somewhere. But we will be right back. We have to break for a short commercial message right now, but we will be back with the Deputy Garrison Commander.
And make his face to shine upon us, that your way may be known on earth, your saving power among all nations.
HisOutreachWorldwide.org, sharing Jesus with children around the world.
His Outreach Worldwide, showing God's love through India Relief. His Outreach Worldwide sent financial support to pastors whose congregations had no food, feeding the children of God. Widows were also given rice and dry supplies to sustain from going hungry. Migrant laborers were also given food assistance to ensure they do not go hungry. His Outreach Worldwide is also spreading God's love in Honduras, helping build a house for a 106-year-old woman.
Tu fidelidad es grande. Tu fidelidad incomparable. Nadie como tú, bendito Dios. Solo decís una vez más, Señor, tu fidelidad es grande. Tu fidelidad incomparable. Nadie como tú, bendito Dios.
Find out more information on His Outreach Worldwide Ministries, our missions, our books, multimedia, how to donate, or how to contact us. Please visit hisoutreachworldwide.org.
Hey everybody, we're back and we're so glad that you're still with us because we still have a lot more to share with you. I'm here right now with Justin Mitchell, who is the Deputy Garrison Commander out there on Fort Bragg. And we were shared some information about Fort Bragg, but I do want to say that Fort Bragg, if I'm correct, has been around since 1918 for 102 years.
You did your homework, 102 years.
102 years. That's very incredible. And also, too, you said that this was like running a small city, and you were describing, you know, some of that. So can you go more into detail?
Sure, yeah. So like any city, we have the normal city amenities. For Fort Bragg, about 1/3 of our population actually resides on Fort Bragg. And we have 6,104 homes, 432 single occupancy apartments, and then about 17,000 barrack spaces for single soldiers. And then we have about 1,200 miles of road network that we have to maintain and sustain. Some people don't know we have 21 miles of railroad track that we actually have our own train engines that are Army train engines that we move equipment around with. And then for my garrison support, I have about 3,000 employees that run the city. About 1,300 of them are appropriated funds that get paid with your tax dollars. About 1,000 of them are money that's generated on the base, like in the bowling center or the food places that pay for the services, quality of life services, MWR programs. And then I have about 700 contractors on base that help support the different things we do. And then we have our own public works and things like that. But but 1/3 live on base and 2/3 live off base. We have 9 schools. We have our own school district. And of course, readiness and fitness is all about the Army.
Yes,
So we have 14 gymnasiums, and there's so many people that during this COVID are trying to get back in the gyms, but they're closed right now because we're trying to keep everybody safe during COVID. But it's a really neat city, and we're not in competition with our Sand Hills neighbors. We support them, and we work together really well. For example, we had a Harley Davidson outlet come and talk to us about opening a shop on base. Well, it happens to be the Fayetteville Harley Davidson owner, so he gets another storefront.
That is really neat.
He gets to come and talk with our soldiers and sell our soldiers Harley Davidsons, and he gets to have a storefront on Fort Bragg. So what a wonderful partnership we have.
That is a super partnership. Well, I know he was happy.
Yeah, well, yeah, and there's several of them like that, to be honest with you. And so,
yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit more about the interaction with, the communities and
Sure.
How that goes. Do different mayors call on you?
Oh, yeah. I know most of the mayors in the surrounding 5 counties, and we get along really, really well because, our population is their population, with 2/3 of our soldiers, service members, and their families living off post. So, your Boy Scout leaders, Girl Scout leaders, your church ushers and volunteers are a lot of soldiers and their families, and we have a motto in the military: bloom where you're planted. And so try to get involved with your community, try to improve it. Habitat for Humanity, there's a lot of soldiers that support that and try to work on that. But our Lynne and Oaks community high school students go to Overhills, and our Fayetteville, Fort Bragg high school students go to E.E. Smith. So our students are your students as well.
Intermingling.
Right, and so we are your Army base. And that's the one thing I always talk about. And again, pre-COVID, I always told people, please come on to base. It's not that hard.
Ask you. Yes, pre-COVID, it wasn't that hard, but then the COVID-19 hit, and I know that it's very hard even for me to get on base.
Right now, right now it is. We have exceptions to policy because we're trying to protect. What I tell my staff too is we're trying to protect the force, and so what I tell my staff is make good choices, protect yourself, so you can protect your team.
Yes.
So the team can take care of the soldiers and their families. We can protect the force.
Yes.
And so it is hard. You can't really get on now.
It is very
but sooner or later we'll get back to a state of normality. But the intermingling of the Sand Hills community and Fort Bragg is constant. We work with the mayors, the city managers, the school superintendents every week. And in fact, I was joking with you when we were at commercial that one of my previous Garrison commanders is actually the village manager of Pinehurst, and so
that is so neat. And I know him, and I know he's doing a super job.
Fort Bragg trains them well on how to run a city and how to get along with either a strong mayoral form of leadership or a strong city council form of leadership. It's about building coalitions, and that's what the military is about. We never go to war alone. We have allies, and so we get trained in building coalitions and cooperatives and how to work with everyone in a positive way for a common good. And that's just part of the military mentality.
Oh yeah. A lot of even retired people come out from there with whole new careers, from skills that they have picked up in the military. And I've lived here all my life. I'm 6th generation Fayetteville, but you don't get that much because with the military there's so much in and out, and they always are amazed at my story that I am 6th generation Fayetteville. And but all my life I've grown up with the military. I've had military friends, some of my best friends, and I would just cry my little heart out. They would get transferred and moved away, and lots of little boyfriends that moved away.
Broke your heart.
And I never heard from again. And but it's really great. I love having the military here, and I'm one of those that pulls over if I see I guess you call them cavalcades of the trucks, the tanks, and everything going down the street. I actually pull over for them.
Yeah.
Because I just think they're awesome, and I don't know what we do without our military protecting our country.
Well, and you think about organizations to be a part of, and you know, the vision and the values of the Army, and you think about, you know, leadership and duty and respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage, and those attributes ring true with our belief, but as well as the, you know, what other organization that tries to live those values daily. I was talking with a group of young people the other day, and I said, you know, if you think about our military, but particularly our country, and even though our country's struggling right now, you look at our country, we're the only country that I know that people are literally fighting and dying to get into.
Yes.
There's a lot of countries people are fighting and dying to get out of it.
That's a very good point.
But I only know of us as a country that people are truly struggling hard to get into, to be a part of this American vision and this American dream that we all have and we've enjoyed.
That's so true. And you are right. There are so many that have died trying to get into our country.
Right.
You know, and I think of the ones fleeing from Cuba, you know, on the rafts, and, you know, countless others that have tried to get into America and have died trying to pursue that dream, because we are a land of the free and home of the brave, and a land of great American dreams that are very much still alive today.
Right, and I think our military just reinforces that with our values, and again, how we do a lot of work on rules of engagement and things like that before we even go into a hostile environment to try and maintain our dignity and respect, and again, personal courage in the fight of chaos and sometimes violence. You know, that's a very difficult thing we're asking these 21, 22-year-old, you know, folks to do. And so the training that we do and the things that we do, so it just becomes second nature, and it's just automatic for them to do and to make good decisions in what's called the fog of war. And so that's what we do on a day-to-day basis at Fort Bragg.
Well, I mean, Justin, you're so right, and as I mentioned, I'm sixth generation Fayetteville, so I have grown up in a military town, knowing and understanding the military to a much larger degree than a lot of others, but I've also been many places in the country that have no absolute idea what it is the military does, or what the military sacrifices, and that includes the children, that includes the wives, and I mean people, and then that includes some husbands, because there are many military women now.
That's correct.
And people have no idea that, you know, these men, these women go off and they leave their families, and even in some cases, very small children, and they will go and be deployed for 2 years' time, you know, and they're like, that's 2 years out of these children's lives that they are not in them. And people will just have no idea the sacrifices that these military families put up with.
You know, I couldn't agree more. And the military lifestyle creates very strong and independent military spouses of either gender. And I kind of had the opposite experience to a degree. I ended up leaving my family for periods of time. And again, I'm a civilian, so I've never donned the uniform. And so I'm not trying to even compare myself to them. But I did leave my family for a year. But it was when my wife had 2 teenagers to raise. And I still hear about that once in a while, that I left her for a year with 2 teenagers, and I don't think it cost me a car, but it did cost me a bit when I got back from the trip that I was on. So.
I can understand that, but so. I'm sure they're no worse for wear, because I know them.
Yeah, they're very good. Yeah.
Yes, she did a great job in your stead, I will say that. But it's just so wonderful to have the military here. I'm so proud of them, and I'm just, you know, I think how you and I first met, we've got to wrap up in a minute, was through Stand Proud, the song that I wrote for the military, and it was played in an event that you were at, and that's first how we came to know each other, and that was years ago, and we're still best friends, great friends here.
Yeah, that was down at the museum, and I'll never forget that, and it just, that song touched me, And you know, as soon as it was over, the event was over, I can remember, you know, trying to weave my way through the crowd to get to you, to have a conversation and to meet you, and to just kind of talk about how you were inspired to write that. And it's a beautiful song, and it was an interesting moment, but boy, it's been a great ride since,
it
hasn't it?
has been, and we've done a lot together, and still a lot more to do together.
Good,
all right?
that's a deal.
So we thank you so much for tuning in. I can't talk now. For tuning in to Here's How. And we look forward to seeing you on our very next episode. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you, Justin Mitchell.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.